As the magicians are casting smoke and mirrors, set to distract the audience away from the sleight of hand, everyone is watching them talk about the drama between the surrounding Bitcoin Cash and SegWit 2x situations. But as the market capitalization of the entire crypto industry starts to appear on most people's radar, are the restrictions and regulations just temporary distractions to hold back decentralized competition as old programs are rushing to reset the financial and technological matrix? In today's news, we're going to review some of the new patents that are coming from NASDAQ, and more importantly, we're going to show you how NASDAQ Incorporated owns what seems to be practically the entire blockchain industry. And in a world where effectively 0% of our population even owns any Bitcoin at all, are the key players of the old financial order, including NASDAQ, gearing up to spring-load everyone into this new world. While we may all be headed to this new world together, only the early hodlers are going to have an extra ticket to the moon. Let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together, welcome to Minting Coins. So there's a lot going on, as always, in this market, and people are getting more and more excited. There's more and more talk from all the different levels of the interests and the ladder, the different constituencies and whatnot. We have businesses, we have regulators, we have countries. In some cases, we have dictators who are all talking about Bitcoin and blockchain and its effect on the future of things to come in our society. We're going to be going over some information in terms of some of the technological developments and the patents that are being owned inside the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and how some of those patents and how some of that technology sets up some companies for an enormous amount of success, an enormous opportunity to gain an incredible position within the Bitcoin and blockchain technology space, where if everyone else is then later on allowed to come into the cryptocurrency industry, but instead of directly into Bitcoin, instead of directly into Ethereum and Litecoin, into these technologies, they're funneled in through the this new layer of infrastructure, these new layers of processes with these new layers of corporations and different people involved. Then that's going to take all those businesses and all those people on that foundation that everyone else in the world would come into on, and just create an enormous amount of success for the investments that are being laid out right now. So like this video, I encourage you to subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive our notifications when we receive the new video announcements. We're going to take a quick peek at the market, go through the news, dive in to see what's happening, and then let's discuss. So starting over here at coinmarketcap.com, we are living here in a world with over 1,176 different cryptocurrencies and a total market capitalization nearing $170 billion. 24-hour volume is relatively low compared to where we have been seeing it during the rush days. It's not as low as it has been, but it's about $4 billion in the past 24 hours, and our BTC Bitcoin dominance, 55.6%. So we have the total market capitalization of Bitcoin alone at $94 billion, almost $95 billion. And it's going to be really exciting, big news. You're going to hear about it in all the headlines once Bitcoin crosses that $100 billion dominance. So we have Bitcoin here. There's currently only 16.6 million Bitcoins in existence, and not too many more than that. Probably less when you think about all the people who have lost their keys, or Bitcoin that's just locked up and inaccessible is probably a lot less that's available than the full 16.632 million. Ethereum you know, everything's been relatively down. Just people are really excited about the Bitcoin Gold airdrop, which is going to be happening in just a few days here, about less than a week. And then the SegWit 2X situation that's going to be happening later on in November. So Bitcoin Cash also, you know, had this huge pump. We saw in yesterday's video, there was a press release. Most of those gains have dropped away, but it is trading slightly higher than it was before. Really going down the line, I guess when you look at these in terms of the Bitcoin price, just for something to have, when you're looking at this in USD, without looking at in the Bitcoin price, if you see here the Bitcoin price has had a 24-hour change volume of 5.4%, just know that when you look at everything else, anything that is less than 5% is a loss in Bitcoin value. So even though everyone keeps on talking about how Litecoin is doing so well, how Litecoin hit $60, how Litecoin is up 3%, you know, in the past 24 hours, Litecoin really isn't doing as well as it has been doing, since Litecoin is just barely over 1% of the Bitcoin price. And so we've been just noticing that the Litecoin price has been fluctuating between 1% and 2%, more so between 1% and 1.75% of the Bitcoin price, definitely, you know, hitting that over that 1.5%. And so the fact that the Litecoin price in terms of the Bitcoin is just at the 1% parity, even though it's increasing in USD value, it's down, just as most things here are down in relative to the Bitcoin value. So we see BitConnect as an example here, 6.46%. Not a big fan of BitConnect, but BitConnect at 6.46% is doing slightly better in terms of the Bitcoin price, and we know that because 6.46% is more than 5.54%. Just a couple other quick notes here on the chart. We have a Ethereum Classic. Ethereum Classic, we're going to be talking about that, just mentioning it later on in the show, that Ethereum Classic has their summit coming up in Hong Kong in November. They're going to be releasing a couple of those really exciting announcements that they're going to be switching from an inflationary coin like Ethereum is, and they're going to be pivoting to become a deflationary coin like Bitcoin is. So they're going to cap the total number of Ethereum Classic tokens that are ever created at about 230 million. So if you own 230 of those Ethereum Classics, then you would own, you'd be in the 1/1,000,000th percenter club, since you'd own 1/1,000,000th of all the Ethereum Classic that would ever exist. They also have the Ethereum Classic Investment Trust, the only other investment trust that exists besides the Bitcoin BTC Investment Trust. You know, and we want to look into this more and just see if and how the Ethereum Classic blockchain is going to be potentially connected to the Cardano blockchain, knowing that they have a similar developer from the Ethereum Classic and Cardano. Yeah, and Omizi Go under $8. We're expecting the Omizi Go price to fluctuate higher and have greater volatility as they develop their SDK. We're wondering if it's going to come out in Q4, as their roadmap is indicating that it will, or if it could get delayed. It'd be a huge blow to the community if the SDK for Omizi Go isn't released in 2017, and we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. So yeah, I saw this meme. We were over here on Reddit, and does this feel like you? That voice that's always there, where you're just trying to work and you're trying to get your job done, and in the back of your head or just somewhere you have Bitcoin saying, check me, please. Check my price. Open Blockfolio. Yeah, it's annoying, and it's really important that you and that everyone out there is able to recognize that and put those that urge to constantly be checking the Bitcoin price. You know, just tell yourself you're going to check it once a day, or you just have to pull yourself away. It's sort of like an addiction, like video games or anything of that nature, where it can take hold pretty bad, and just this is your public service announcement to have awareness and to help yourself. But thinking about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin price, and thinking about where we are now with a per Bitcoin price. And so again, per Bitcoin price, each Bitcoin is about $5,600, about $5,700. And this one person posted that the percentage of Bitcoin in this world who are even aware of the cryptocurrencies or their potential is effectively zero. And China is not able to buy Bitcoin at the moment. There's no ETF, really ETF for people besides the, the other one, the Bitcoin Investment Trust, which isn't available to just anybody. It's not a full real ETF. And this has only 20 million users, yet we're at $5,600 USD. And so this was really interesting. And so we went back to the Bitcoin wealth distribution chart, which we had talked about in a previous video before. And if we look at the total number of people who have, it's not the total number of people, but it's the total number of Bitcoin addresses that have Bitcoin in those addresses. And there's 25 million. So we have 25 million different Bitcoin addresses. And so if you have all your Bitcoin in one address, then you account for one of these addresses. But if you have all of your Bitcoin in 10 different Bitcoin addresses and they each have a little bit of Bitcoin, then then you would account for 10 of these different addresses. So if knowing that most people account for more than one Bitcoin address, then there's definitely far less than just 25 million people who have Bitcoin, right? If everybody has 3 addresses, then it's closer to what, 7 million? And so there's not a lot of people who have Bitcoin. And so what we did is that, just real quick, we took the 25 million and divided it by the 7.5 billion people in the world. And yeah, it's not a lot of people. We have less than 1% of the entire world who know about Bitcoin. Rounded down, this is effectively 0% of the percent of the world that owns any Bitcoin. And it's we don't know how many people know about Bitcoin. Maybe they've heard of Bitcoin, but if you don't own Bitcoin, then do you really know about Bitcoin? And so let's think about people that know about Bitcoin, not just people who heard about it on the news or heard about it once, sometimes in the past 8 or 9 years, but people who have an address, people who have a little bit of Bitcoin. And this is why it's really important that more people know about Bitcoin, that more people have a little bit of Bitcoin, that you tell your friends about it, you help them get an address for it. You help them get an address for it, and you transfer for them just a little bit of Bitcoin so that they can experience it, so they can understand it. And once they have a little bit of BTC, then when people are talking about BTC Bitcoin, or they're talking about Bitcoin Cash, or they're talking about SegWit 2x, they're going to have very, at least clearer distinguishments or discernment between what these different versions of, and offshoots are of Bitcoin, kind of like the Mona Lisa image that we looked at yesterday. Because they have a little bit of skin in the game, because it's tangible for them, because they own a little bit, that's going to help their understanding. It's going to help everyone involved with Bitcoin and blockchain technology, as opposed to more and more people learning about things in an incorrect direction or in an incorrect way, or just people not understanding all the pros and all the cons, all the advantages and the disadvantages of Bitcoin versus the advantages and disadvantages of Bitcoin Cash. It's important that we have everyone together, that we have Bitcoin Cash folks and Bitcoin Core folks and SegWit 2x folks all come together and express their ideas, and they can all make sure everybody has a little bit of their coin, right? But then once people have a little bit, then they're going to have the tangible understanding to make decisions on their own, to learn new information on their own. And so if there's someone in your life that is your friend, someone in your family, even if you have enemies, you want those people to know about Bitcoin. You want those people to have at least a little bit of Bitcoin. And then you want to give them the information that they need just to start experimenting and moving forward with this technology. Yeah, so this is really interesting. Just to make sure everyone's aware of this situation. So here's Voltoro, the sign up page, and it's just interesting that it just says, "I confirm that I am not a resident of Iran, Syria, North Korea, or the state of New York, USA." To create your account, because if you're a part of any of these different regions of the world, like Iran or Syria or North Korea, or as we're residents of the state of New York, then you're restricted with what you can and what you can't do with some of this new blockchain technology, some of this new financial technology, because it has to do with money and because there's all these different regulations. There's developments happening in the space, and not everybody can get involved in these different developments. So some of the developments that continue to happen in this space are happening, as we see in this one article here coming from CoinDesk.com, which we'll be talking about more in a second. We have this one article that says NASDAQ awarded patent for blockchain. And this one patent that they're talking about is a patent for data matching systems, where it's simply a two-part transaction where they have this patent for, where the first part of the transaction records a transaction coming in from the source, and then the second part passes it through an intermediary to its destination. And this is just what the patent describes as a data transfer and logging system with blockchain that's used to track trades and clearing positions. And this is really, really important for NASDAQ. This is really, really important for the future of financial services and the financial services industry as it relates to both Bitcoin and all of blockchain technology. And particularly for the use of this patent as it relates to the benefits of the system, which is that blockchain could serve as a way to boost the efficiency in the clearinghouse processes. So as it relates to the clearinghouse processes, because what's most interesting to these folks about the blockchain technology is that what they want to do is that they want to improve the speed and efficiency of the old world financial systems. And accordingly, the patent goes on to say that this is going to be appreciated, that the new and improved techniques, systems, and processes in this area of technology are continuously sought after. And there's going to be a greater and greater demand for the benefits of this technology, for the value of this technology, because having increased speed and increase in efficiency is critical for future financial technologies to continue to exist. Because even if the amount of money stays the same in the world, if you can increase the speed that these transactions can happen, you can effectively increase the amount of volume that's passing through, how quickly the transactions are, the number of fees that you can then add or process, and this is of a huge benefit based on how these companies used to work, and them understanding what they need to do to change so that in the future that they can continue to work. So this isn't the only patent that NASDAQ owns. We know that lots of these big banks, a lot of these big financial institutions, and in this case, NASDAQ has multiple patents. They also have this other patent that really is interesting because it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense based on what our technology is that we're talking about. But this one patent is a proposed way to back up a blockchain-based exchange system. So it's just kind of funny to think about backing up a blockchain-based exchange system, because if you're a blockchain system, then the definition of a blockchain system is being backed up everywhere on every node that's running the software. Even if you're not a node that's mining, every node that is running the Bitcoin software has a copy of the entire Bitcoin blockchain, every transaction that's ever happened since the very first Genesis block. And so by definition, the blockchain, the whole thing is a backup system. It's like a copy of the ledger is on every single person's computer as a backup. So to have a patent that includes a backup system for the backup system seems really suspect or confusing at best. But apparently, that's just yet another one of which NASDAQ has filed. And so that really puts NASDAQ in a great position to own a lot of these patents, and then as a NASDAQ that runs stock exchanges and has interest in clearinghouse systems, that really benefits them a lot. And it's really interesting because NASDAQ actually owns a lot more in a space than people would suspect, especially because NASDAQ is adding a lot of caution to cryptocurrency, a lot of caution to trading cryptocurrencies and digital assets and the like. But NASDAQ is heavily invested in cryptocurrency and the blockchain industry. For example, there's this CoinDesk.com website, which is this really large cryptocurrency news website that has a lot of great articles that everyone goes to for authoritative information. And usually CoinDesk.com has a disclaimer right here. And they do a really good job about that. And they have this strict set of editorial policies that you can check out if you're interested. But normally, if this article is going to be talking about Zcash, then there'd be a disclaimer here that said CoinDesk, in disclosure, is owned by the Digital Currency Group, and the Digital Currency Group has an investment stake in Zcash, right? Or Shapeshift, or a lot of different companies in the blockchain space. But CoinDesk indirectly is actually owned by NASDAQ. And so we're going to take a look at this little journey to understand how that is actually the case. And so here, popping over at wikipedia.com, we have CoinDesk, which is a news specializing in Bitcoin and digital currencies. It was actually acquired by the Digital Currency Group for what we're going to find out to be is about $500,000. And so this is CoinDesk, and CoinDesk is owned by the Digital Currency Group. So when we pop over here to the Digital Currency Group on Wikipedia, we see that the Digital Currency Group, abbreviated DCG, it's actually a venture capital company focusing on the digital currency market, and they're located in New York City, as is NASDAQ and a lot of these other companies. So a little bit of history behind the Digital Currency Group. You probably hear about the Digital Currency Group all the time because they do own a lot of companies. They're sort of the face of the venture company that's really heavily invested inside the space. And so the Digital Currency Group was launched in 2015 by Barry Silbert, who you probably recognize that name, very popular person inside the space. And Barry Silbert actually founded the company Second Market Incorporated. And so he began investing in Bitcoin companies 2013, first as an angel investor, providing funding for many early companies, including Coinbase, BitPay, and Ripple. And so what happened is that the Digital Currency Group was formed when two businesses under the Second Market Company, and two of those businesses were the Genesis Trading Company, and the second business is Grayscale Investments. When those two companies came together, then they came together and they were then called Second Market. And so Genesis Global Trading, they are an over-the-counter trading company, is what they do. And then Grayscale Investments, you may be aware, they actually own the Bitcoin Investment Trust, which we keep on talking about, BTC. They also own the Ethereum Classic Investment Trust, which is the only other investment trust that currently exists out there in the space. All right, so now we have the Digital Currency Group, and the Digital Currency Group was founded through Second Market. The Digital Currency Group owns Grayscale. Digital Currency Group owns Genesis Trading, and Digital Currency Group owns CoinDesk. So there's a lot of things that the Digital Currency Group here owns. So you guys can go check this out. This is the Crunchbase. Crunchbase.com is a great place to go check out companies and learn more information about different companies. We have the Digital Currency Group here listed, 2015. A lot of different information about them, including recent news and activity, different investments that they put into. 103 are listed here as investments, and 11 where Digital Currency Group was a lead investor. Projects like OpenBazaar, I was really surprised when I first learned that way back when. And just a lot of different projects. So we have the current team, other people in the team, acquisitions, like CoinDesk right here, 2016, $500,000 at least. Different funding rounds have had, different investors. I was really surprised to learn, is it on this page? when we click on to see all the investors, that one of the main investors is MasterCard. And I guess I was really surprised to hear about that because there's so little news that really comes out around blockchain technology and MasterCard. It was really interesting to see that they're not just an investor, but that they're a lead investor, along with a lot of these other companies, just like Western Union, even though Western Union is not a lead investor. Is that interesting that Western Union is an investor in the digital currency group and MasterCard and a lot of these folks? Yeah, what do you guys think about that? Take a look at this page. Let me know what you think. All right, so moving on away from the digital currency group, and let's learn about the company that is that owns a digital currency group, which is the Second Market. And so when we go look up Second Market, we see it get redirected to the NASDAQ Private Market page. And so I don't know who owns a NASDAQ Private Market page. That's not true. I do, but I'm not going to tell you yet. We're gonna find out who owns the NASDAQ Private Market corporation in just a minute. So no spoilers. You might already know. So Second Market Solutions, which is a company that Barry Silver, started over here. Let's make sure we get this right. So Digital Currency Group was launched, who previously founded Second Market. And let's go back to our Second Market page. So Second Market changed its name to NASDAQ Private Market after being acquired by NASDAQ in a joint venture with SharesPost. Oh, so I guess that gives it away. Yeah, so over here we have the parent company NASDAQ. So NASDAQ had a joint venture with SharesPost, and NASDAQ and SharesPost got together. They purchased Second Market Solutions, and then they changed Second Market Solutions' name to the NASDAQ Private Market. And so the NASDAQ Private Market essentially owns the Bitcoin Investment Trust, and the Second Market acts as the custodian. So Second Market in this case would be the NASDAQ Private Market acts as the custodian. The trust is audited by Ernst & Young, and then the trust is managed through a subsidiary of the NASDAQ Private Market, and the subsidiary of the NASDAQ Private Market is the Digital Currency Group, which owns Grayscale, which manages the Bitcoin Investment Trust. So that's that direct connection right there. The NASDAQ Private Market is also listed on Crunchbase for you to take a peek at, as is SharePost. And real quick, sharepost.com is just a great resource that provides opportunities for investors and also solutions for shareholders with a lot of different information to help the investors and the shareholders make decisions and find different opportunities. So moving on to the owner of the NASDAQ Private Market, as we discovered, the owner of the NASDAQ Private Market is NASDAQ Incorporated. And so who's NASDAQ Incorporated? So NASDAQ Incorporated is a multinational financial services corporation which owns, as you have probably guessed, NASDAQ. And so it owns NASDAQ. It's also listed on NASDAQ. But a lot of people who know about NASDAQ don't realize that NASDAQ Incorporated, which is different than NASDAQ, NASDAQ Incorporated is the company. NASDAQ is just one of their products or services. Because NASDAQ Incorporated owns 8 other European stock exchanges, including the Armenian Stock Exchange, Copenhagen, Helsinki, Iceland, Riga, Stockholm, Tallinn, NASDAQ OMX Vilnius. All of this headquartered NASDAQ in New York City with the Digital Currency Group. And that's really, really interesting. And so that's that chain event. So NASDAQ Incorporated owns the NASDAQ Private Market. The NASDAQ Private Market owns the Digital Currency Group. Digital Currency Group owns Grayscale, Genesis Trading, CoinDesk, among many others. And then NASDAQ also owns the NASDAQ stock market. which is the second largest stock exchange in the world by market capitalization, right behind only the New York Stock Exchange, which is located in the same city. Yeah, also owns a Nordic, which was the OMX that we talked about before, and several other U.S. stock and options exchanges. There's a lot going on with NASDAQ. And when you check out this page, there's nothing about the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It's just really, really interesting to see the position that they've given themselves and the opportunity that they've given themselves. And we hear about all this regulation preventing people from getting involved, preventing businesses from being formed, preventing companies from, doubling down on the blockchain technology, which they may believe in, but because of the restrictions, because of the regulations, particularly in New York State, which makes it exceedingly difficult for even an average company to get a bit license, NASDAQ is not just very well positioned in the traditional financial world, but they are clearly getting ahead of the game and laying down the foundation with a conglomerate of these different companies that are all laying down the pieces, are setting up regulations, that are setting up structure, that are putting in place people and all sorts of processes, laying across just layers and layers of infrastructure on top of the Bitcoin blockchain, on top of the Ethereum blockchain, with other digital assets and cryptocurrencies, so that when everyone else comes into the market, it doesn't matter if they come into the market through the actual blockchain or if they come into the market through any of these sort of systems or mechanisms that they're putting in place. The institutions that are in now, that are laying out the playing field now, are just set to have incredible return on their investment. And so to think that they're putting in this much work, this much effort, this much investment with all of the patents that they have and all the companies that are, very closely connected, and that they're not going to then later on open the floodgates to the rest of the world and the rest of the international money supply to then take their, significant investments that they're putting into this and just get incredible returns. And the NASDAQ won't be having their own little ICO. That won't happen. All right. So again, just to talk about some of the regulations that are happening, they have been happening at a country by country level. Let it be Russia or the United States or China or any one of these several other different countries. But we have more and more regional regulators as well. We were talking about the IMF as a regional regulator, as a global regulator. Since the nature of the Bitcoin and blockchain technology is really cross-border permissionless, the IMF sees reason why they should jump in and get more involved with the international situation. At the same time, we have the North American Securities Administration Association, abbreviated the NASAA, which is composed of organizations, regulatory agencies, local, state, and regionally based in United States, Mexico, and the United States. These watchdog members have stated now that they believe trading and cryptocurrencies in general is likely to pose significant risks for investors. This is just additional regulation, just additional risk that they're putting in now, just increasing the pressure to restrict people and businesses from getting involved in the Bitcoin and blockchain technology space. The report goes on to state that the cryptocurrencies purport to store value in a distributed digital ledger and are currently very popular as a means of raising capital for very early stage startups, not large companies, but early stage startups, usually referred to as initial coin offerings or ICOs. And that the NASAA members are closely watching this in emerging markets and all different markets, for sure. And so this is just additional statements with additional concerns, with additional distractions that are preventing people from getting involved. They're holding people back from getting involved. They're holding business owners, business leaders, entrepreneurs, educators, local governments from getting more involved with the Bitcoin and blockchain technology when this technology has an incredible opportunity to really open up and expand and enhance everyone's lives. You know, if every city in the United States purchased 1 Bitcoin for their citizens, then wouldn't that be an amazing opportunity for all of these places in the world? Or if every village in China, right? I mean, it doesn't matter where they go. There's never going to be more than 21 million Bitcoins in the world. And having the infrastructure that's welcoming this technology, that allows this technology to exist, is good for people. It's good for everybody in the world. And I'm not sure if it's a but or an and with these additional layers of infrastructure, you know, and it's going to add fees. It's going to add restrictions to some degree, is while Bitcoin and blockchain technology alone is great for everybody, these additional layers that are getting put in place are going to make the owners of those layers incredibly rich. And for them to receive that wealth, then they're going to need at some point everyone else to come into the Bitcoin and blockchain technology space. But they're not going to open those floodgates. They're not going to give the green lights. The regulators aren't going to say, come on in, not until the systems are set up that where the financial institutions say, hey, there's no risk. Hey, we have this covered. Hey, let everyone know the party started. And by that point, the per Bitcoin price may you know, theoretically, it could already be $100,000 a Bitcoin. What do you think about that? What do you think about every city in your country owning 1 whole Bitcoin? Sort of an interesting idea, right? Some people are noticing. Some people are paying attention. Some people are talking about this. And one of the people who is talking about this is Tim Draper. And Tim Draper, you know, he owns at least 30,000 Bitcoin that he got from auction, the Silk Road, Ross Ulbricht, you know, Bitcoins that he purchased. He's probably purchased another 50,000 or 80,000 Bitcoins on top of that. He probably has 100,000 Bitcoins. And he's super excited about Bitcoin, has a really cool Bitcoin tie, just continuing to talk about Bitcoin on Bloomberg, continuing to invest in Bitcoin. And so it's, again, very, very interesting that while regulators are telling people no, while regulators are preventing people, while governments are telling people no, governments are preventing people, you have NASDAQ with these patents, you have Digital Currency Group with all of these different companies and venture capital, and you have business leaders like Tim Draper who are just heavily invested and shouting from the rooftops how important this is. And there's a huge disconnect between the wealthiest business owners and leaders who are just diving in now and what everyone else is being told. And so it's really clear to us that what we're going to see is that as soon as all the dominoes are set up, then the floodgates will open, and then Tim Draper and NASDAQ and Barry Silver are just going to, you know, they're not going to have a rocket ship to the moon. They're just going to like, transport straight there. Because, you know, when people are talking about the crypto ruble and they're talking about the Fed note and they're talking about all that jazz, it's just a temporary tool. It's just a temporary tool to create competition so that the ruble, the fiat ruble, can be digitized so it can be just as fast as a cryptocurrency, so it can be just as efficient as a cryptocurrency without actually being that cryptocurrency. It's going to help temporarily keep control in these countries. It's going to temporarily help these countries have their currencies stay more competitive, as all these different countries are going to be starting to create digital currencies. And at the same time, not only does it do that, but having the crypto ruble will allow for a much easier exchange to take the global reserve crypto assets, such as Bitcoin, that will increase in value all over the world, and take those worldwide Bitcoins and easily convert them into the crypto rubles or the rubles, which will then help and benefit the countries that have easy ways for that world money to transfer into their regions of the land, which is why it's even more important that whoever's in charge, right? It doesn't matter if it's the governments or if it's the banks, that they set up the infrastructures to allow the cryptocurrencies and digital assets to flow in all the different regions of the world as quickly as possible. Because when the shoe drops and you're living in a place where you can't get Bitcoin or you don't have Bitcoin, then those are going to be crypto deserts. Right? I don't know if anyone's talking about this, but you don't want to live in a part of the world that's a crypto desert. You want as many people where you live to have Bitcoin, to have cryptocurrency. And what Russia is doing is that they're setting up a system where Bitcoin can easily flow into Russia. And this is a system that every country in the world needs for Bitcoin to flow into everyone's region of the world, as they create innovation around whatever product or service it is that you provide for other people. And cool. So last not least, just to throw a little bit of fun out there, we have this website. Will John McAfee eat his own body parts? And the answer is no. So just a little bit of perspective, even if the Bitcoin price dropped all the way down to $3,570, then we would still be on target. We'd still be on track for Bitcoin to reach $500,000 per Bitcoin by the end of the 3-year deadline. And so even if Bitcoin dropped nearly $2,000, if it dropped over $2,000, we would still be on track to reaching that $500,000 number. Even though John McAfee was talking about Bitcoin Cash at the time and the Jihan Wu coin, he wasn't talking about Bitcoin BTC. He later said he was joking and said he was talking about Bitcoin, but Twitter facts will remain there forever, I suppose. Cool. So last but not least, if you're interested in continuing this conversation and joining us over at mintingcoins.com, we're giving away free memberships for anyone who wants to have a voice, anyone who wants to be part of the conversation. Go to mintingcoins.com, make a membership, and then email us through the website, and we'll upgrade your membership for free. If you just make a membership and don't email us to upgrade, or if you make a membership and don't upgrade your membership to a full membership, then you won't be able to access all the different parts of the website. So if you do become a member of the website and would like that free membership, just shoot us that email, and we can continue the conversation. We have groups, we have forums, we have a community that's based around just bringing people together, bringing ideas together, and bringing it as a part of minting coins provides a lot of opportunity and provides what we think is a much better user experience without getting some of the disadvantages that people tend to go through getting information and going through the comments and having to curate through different amounts of spam and referral links what's happening in Facebook comments and what's happening in YouTube comments. And so with the community that we have, we're building a community of people who care about each other, people who care about this technology, and people who want to come together just to have information and access to all sides of the story. And I'm encouraging you to come join us and come be part of that conversation and come be a member at mintingcoins.com. Cool. I guess in other news and information going on in the world, we're getting ready for a trip to Europe. I'm getting ready to go to Europe to see a couple things, to do a couple things, to see if I can maybe spend as much as I can on Bitcoin without using fiat. That'll be a really interesting experiment. And one of the things that we're going to be doing in Europe is swinging through Poland to talk to some of the leaders and the CEO of IndaHash. So IndaHash was a sponsored ICO that we did a couple episodes ago, and I encourage you to go check that out. It's a really interesting ICO, and it is right up our alley since it's a way to help us with the monetization of the content that we're providing. And because YouTube is just taking away the financial revenue, they're taking away even the visibility. They are censoring, based on words that are said and information that's provided, and the fact that this is news and information, having more opportunities out there that we can help create revenue is helpful for us to continue to provide this information and bring this information to you, since even the little bit of information that you see from minting coins, this is probably takes 4 or 5 hours to just for the system that we have of producing a video, researching the video, putting that information out there. A lot of the times it takes a lot more than that when you look at all the times and all the things you're doing throughout the day. But with the IndaHash video, if you have any questions about IndaHash or the IndaHash ICO, then put those questions in the comments box of that video, and then I'll have the opportunity to speak with Barbara herself, and I'll be able to ask her a lot of these questions, perhaps any of the questions that you have. I might put a little bit of a filter on that, and just get those questions answered. So that'll be really exciting. Not sure how we're going to do the show, and it's going to be more of a blog style, travel blog format. I never wanted to own a selfie stick, but I might finally have to break down for the first time in my life and get one of those. These are sad days, but there's a purpose, and we'll make it fun, and at least we'll have fun doing it. But until then, I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to get your tips, your ideas, your suggestions, either in the comments below, or check us out over at mintingcoins.com. Check us out on STEEMIT.com. Give us a like, and we just love your support, no matter how it is that you can provide it, even by watching this video. We have more videos on the way, and we're excited to bring you that information. Until then, I'm glad that together we are minting coins.